Okay, think about the Sahara Desert. Just this massive, huge expanse of sand, right?
Yeah, seems almost impassable.
Exactly, like a giant barrier separating places. But what if I told you that connections, like really important ones, actually thrived across that very desert,
Yeah.
shaped history, linked people?
That's exactly it. That's what we're diving into today. Forget the idea of isolation. We're talking about the Trans-Saharan trade routes.
Right.
Think of them as this incredible network spanning the desert, connecting North Africa, the Mediterranean world, with West and Sub-Saharan Africa. We're looking at some historical overviews to piece this together.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We
Right.
want to figure out, how these routes grew, what made them tick, the key elements.
And the impact, the real effect they had on the societies on both ends.
Yeah, the impact. So let's start basic. What exactly were these trans-Saharan trade routes?
Well, fundamentally, they were a network, pathways really, that linked North Africa and the Mediterranean coast with the interior regions of West Africa. Some even went further south. Now, it's crucial to remember, trade across the Sahara wasn't like invented around 1200. It was happening before then.
Right, there were older connections.
Exactly. But the period after 1200, roughly 1200 to 1450, that's when things really intensified. A big surge in scale, in reach.
So it wasn't brand new, but it definitely kicked into a higher gear.
Oh,
What caused that? What was the engine behind that big expansion? Why then?
a really critical factor was transportation technology.
Right.
I mean, the Arabian camel that was introduced centuries earlier,
Yep.
and that itself was huge.
The camel, right, made the desert crossing possible on a larger scale.
Precisely. But then, between 1200 and 1450, you see these key innovations in camel saddles.
Saddles, okay, seems specific.
Sounds small, but it was massive. These newer saddles, they allowed for much better weight distribution. Camels could carry way more stuff, significantly larger loads.
Ah, okay.
And they also made it more comfortable, more stable for the riders on those long, long journeys. It's like moving from just basic carrying to efficient packing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Suddenly, moving goods becomes much more efficient, more reliable, bigger quantities.
Exactly. But it wasn't just the camels and saddles. You needed support for all this increased traffic, right? These weren't just, lone wanderers.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, like hotels in the desert?
Sort of. You saw the development of infrastructure, specifically caravanserai.
Caravanserai.
Okay, think of them as vital rest stops, placed strategically across the desert. They offered shelter, water, supplies.
And safety, I imagine. The desert could be dangerous.
Absolutely. Safety was a huge part of it. So you have these two things working together. Better transport the camels and saddles, and this crucial infrastructure, the caravanserai,
And that combination.
just made the whole desert passage much more viable,
Right.
feasible on a larger scale, which directly led to more trade, more volume, and the network spreading further.
Okay, so the how is clear. Better tech, better infrastructure. Now, what about the what? What were they actually moving across these routes? What were the hot commodities?
Ah, the goods. That was the whole point, right? Gold was massive. Huge deal. Mined mostly in West Africa.
And wanted up north.
Incredibly high demand. North Africa, the Mediterranean, even further afield.
Yeah.
Then you had cola nuts.
Cola nuts.
Yeah, one source calls them a fabulous source of post-classical caffeine. Basically, a stimulant, highly valued.
Uh-huh. Okay, caffeine's always popular. What else?
Horses were likely traded too, probably going south across the desert.
Mm.
And something absolutely vital, salt.
Salt. Seems basic, but
Hugely important
yeah.
for preserving food, for health, and it was pretty scarce in parts of West Africa. So very high demand there.
So it's that classic trade situation, isn't it? Different regions have different things, creates the need to exchange.
Exactly. Regional specialization driving trade.
Mm-hmm.
And, this explosion in trade had massive political consequences, especially the rise of powerful states in West Africa.
Like the Mali Empire, that's the big one, right?
That's the prime example, yeah. Mali really shows this connection.
So when did Mali come onto the scene, and how did the trade routes fuel their rise?
Well, the Mali Empire got established in the 13th century. Now, Islam had reached the region much earlier, centuries before.
Okay.
But what's really interesting here is how when a state or its rulers adopted Islam, it often helped them plug into these much wider economic and trade networks. The whole Dar al-Islam, the House of Islam,
How so?
shared religious connections,
Yeah.
legal frameworks that often favored merchants and trade, existing commercial links across this vast area.
Mm-hmm.
It gave Muslim-ruled states certain advantages.
Right, easier connections, maybe more trust.
Something like that. And Mali benefited directly, hugely, They exported their own resources, especially that gold we talked about.
Yeah, the gold.
Well, they also got incredibly wealthy by taxing the merchants, the caravans, moving through their territory. Controlling those routes meant controlling the flow of wealth. It was a massive source of power.
So adopting Islam wasn't just religious, it was also sort of strategic, economically strategic, like joining a big trading bloc of the time.
That's a great way to put it, a major marketplace. And if you really want to grasp the sheer scale of Mali's wealth and influence from this trade, you have to talk about Mansa Musa.
Ah, yes. Mansa Musa. The stories about his wealth are just legendary, aren't they?
Absolutely legendary. He was Mali's most powerful ruler, no question.
Mhm.
And our sources emphasize just how rich he was. Like, richer than modern billionaires, adjusted for the time, just staggering wealth.
Wow. And he's famous for his pilgrimage, right? The Hajj to Mecca.
Exactly. As a devout Muslim ruler, he undertook the Hajj. But it wasn't exactly low-key.
I bet. What happened?
Well, his entourage was enormous, thousands of people, camels laden with gold. And when they stopped places, especially in Egypt and Cairo, get this, Mansa Musa and his people spent so much gold, gave away so much gold,
Yeah.
that they actually crashed the local value of gold. For a while, anyway.
Mhm.
The sheer amount they injected into the Egyptian economy temporarily depressed its price.
That's incredible. To have so much wealth, you can actually disrupt the economy of another major region just by spending.
It's an amazing demonstration, isn't it? And that's the key takeaway.
What? That he was just incredibly rich.
Well, yes, but why it matters. His pilgrimage, this extravagant display, it basically announced to the wider world the immense wealth of Mali. And that wealth came directly from controlling and participating in the Trans-Saharan trade.
Ah, okay. It was like a giant advertisement for Mali's power fueled by trade.
Precisely. And his influence, his actions, they further cemented Mali's control over that trade between North and Interior Africa, which in turn made Mali even wealthier and helped the trade network itself continue to grow. It was this reinforcing cycle.
It paints such a vivid picture. Mali sitting there, this incredibly wealthy hub, right at the center of these crucial desert routes.
That's the picture. And it's interesting, actually, our sources draw a parallel. They compare Mali to the Sultanate of Malacca over in Southeast Asia.
Malacca, on the sea routes.
Exactly. Both controlled these really strategic choke points for major trade routes. Mali had the desert routes, Malacca the sea lanes, and both grew incredibly powerful and wealthy because of that control.
So it's a recurring pattern in history then. Control the trade, gain the power.
It seems to be a pretty consistent theme, yes. Controlling those arteries of commerce is often key to building empires.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've seen how things like better camel saddles, these crucial rest stops, the caravanserai, how they made the trade possible on a much bigger scale.
Right, the innovations in infrastructure.
Then the goods themselves, gold, salt, cola nuts, driving the economic engine.
Motivation for it all.
And then how empires like Mali rose up, took control, taxed the trade, got incredibly wealthy.
And used that wealth and influence, like with Mansa Musa,
Yeah.
to further strengthen their position and the trade itself.
Yeah. So the aha moment here is really seeing how these regions, which seem so far apart, separated by this huge desert, were actually deeply connected, influencing each other, growing together through this trade network.
Exactly. It wasn't just goods moving back and forth. It was ideas, culture, religion, this whole dynamic web of interaction across a massive area. It really reshaped both North and West Africa.
So as we finish this deep dive on the Trans-Saharan trade, what's a final thought for people to chew on? Something connecting it to, maybe, today.
Well, think about this. Even now, in our world, controlling vital resources, controlling strategic routes, whether they're shipping lanes, pipelines, digital networks, it's still fundamental to global power, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can see echoes of the dynamics of the Trans-Saharan trade playing out today. Who controls access? Who benefits from the flow? It makes you think, how much has really changed when it comes to the link between trade, resources, routes, and power on a global scale? That history still has lessons for us.